Welcome into Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery. Today on the show, Falcons make their first pick. Round one, pick 8, Drake London out of Southern Cal. Okay, we're going to take the whole show and break this down the way that I always do with facts, stats, numbers, everything that you could possibly imagine. It's Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery, Locked On Sports Atlanta.
This is Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
Welcome into Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta. We thank you so much for being a part of the show and checking us out. Head over to YouTube, youtube.com. If you will put in your search bar Locked On Sports in Atlanta, Locked On Sports Atlanta, you will find us very easily there. Hit that subscribe button. Give us a review. Tell us what you think about the show. Leave us a comment. And, of course, follow me on my Twitter page. My Twitter page was blown up last night at JMCH316. The Atlanta Falcons last night, round one, drafted Drake London, wide receiver out of Southern Cal, with their first pick of the draft last night. Was an interesting draft leading up to that. Not really too many surprises. Both of the top corners had gone early in the draft. One of the best tackles had gone. Well, actually, really both the best tackles had gone in the draft. A couple of the top pass rushers had already gone in the draft. It wasn't too overly surprising about the guys that went before the Falcons picked. They were all the guys: Thibodeau, Hutchinson, Neal, Ikwonu, Sauce Gardner, Stingley. Maybe one of those guys and all of those players could have fallen to the Falcons, but they didn't. So the Falcons get to 8, and you looked and said, okay, maybe it's Kyle Hamilton. Jermaine Johnson's on the board. Obviously, any of the wide receivers are on the board. Malik Willis is on the board. Falcons take Drake London, wide receiver out of Southern Cal. Now, a lot to get into, and I'll try to keep my thoughts as organized as I can because I'm going to take the emotion out of it, and I'm going to give you some numbers and things like that. Let's start first with the narrative about Drake London, because I did have to laugh when people came on my Twitter page trying to inform me about Drake London. Are you effing kidding me? Who do you think you're talking to? Okay? I guarantee you that, number one, I've watched more Drake London than any of you have. And number two is I did an interview with the play-by-play voice of Southern Cal football, who's been there before most of you were alive, and previewed it because I've talked to the guy many times. I know my information's good. And this guy watched every single snap ever taken in a game by Drake London. So nobody's filling me in about Drake London. Let's get that nonsense out of the way first and foremost. I'm teaching you about Drake London. I'm giving you the information about Drake London. So miss me with that about what he is, where he is, this, that, and the other. Okay? That drove me nuts, that part of it last night. Now, I wanted Jermaine Johnson, and we'll break all this down all through this entire episode. I wanted Jermaine Johnson. Yeah, but Jermaine Johnson slipped. It didn't slip. Look at the teams that drafted after all of that. You think the Pittsburgh Steelers, who literally just signed the guy who tied for the single season record of sacks in a season in the NFL, were worried about investing another first-round pick into a defensive end when they desperately need quarterback? The New Orleans Saints have 2 top-tier pass rushers in Davenport and Cam Jordan. They weren't going to invest. The Eagles wanted interior line because they've got pass rush. All the teams that have pass rush figured out didn't draft them. That's why he dropped. What do you not understand about this? He didn't drop because, well, maybe there's something wrong with him. No, because all the teams picking afterward are 40, 50 sack teams in the league. The Steelers don't need more pass rush help. The Saints don't need more pass rush help. The Eagles don't need more pass rush help. The Redskins don't need more pass rush help. They just drafted the number 2 guy in the league a couple of years ago in Chase Young. That's why. The Rams don't need more pass rush help. Those teams need other things. They need wide receivers and safeties and corners and offensive linemen. They don't need pass rush. Look at the numbers. The Falcons had 18 sacks. There were 4 guys in the league by themselves who had more sacks than the Falcons. That's why he fell. Is there something wrong with him? No. If I have 50 sacks already, I'm not worried about adding another guy. I can add a guy later on to my mix. I don't have to use first-round NFL draft capital to get something I'm already good at. See how that works? Isn't that funny? We got to take the best available player. Are you telling me that Drake London was the best available player? Kyle Hamilton on most every board in the league was the number 4 or 5 player at lowest on a board. I'm not for taking Kyle Hamilton, but if your theory of best available player is true, then that would have been the pick. And some people would tell you that Drake London is not the best wide receiver in the draft. I'll have that argument. I don't have a problem with ranking him the number 1 wide receiver. But there are certainly cases to make about other guys. But again, it's the most deficient line of scrimmage team in the NFL. Yeah, but we have needs, and wide receiver was a need. You have needs at defensive line. Here's what you need. You need a quarterback. You need offensive linemen. You need a right tackle. You need defensive tackles. You need defensive ends. You need a long-term answer at your second corner position. You need another linebacker. You need a punter. You need. Wide receiver wasn't unique to the 19 other things that the Falcons need. We need a wide receiver. Our room's not very good. Your pass rush room's even worse. You had Steven Means, who started 14 games last year, who didn't have a single sack in the league and had 3 quarterback hits. That's 3 more hits and no more sacks than I had, than me. Line me up, and I could have gone a season with no sacks for you. That's why I'm frustrated about the pick. Not the person, and not about Jermaine Johnson slipping. It's about fixing your football team. Now, when we get back, okay, the Falcons, who have drafted pass catcher with 2 top 10 picks in back-to-back years, this has been tried before, right? I'm going to give you the stats on the team that did this before, and we're going to start to break down, too, about money in the NFL. Jon Chuckery here, hitting hard on Locked On Sports Atlanta.